The mastery of fire, often heralded as the fire revolution, stands as one of the most transformative milestones in human evolution, with its origins tracing back approximately 1 million years. This pivotal moment, likely initiated by Homo erectus and later refined by Homo sapiens, marked the transition from opportunistic exploitation of natural wildfires to the deliberate control and maintenance of fire. The ability to harness fire fundamentally altered the trajectory of human survival, social organization, and technological advancement, setting the stage for the remarkable journey of our species. This chapter explores the origins of fire use, the environmental and cognitive conditions that facilitated its discovery, and the early archaeological evidence that illuminates this groundbreaking achievement. The genesis of fire use. The story of fire begins in a world vastly different from our own, where early hominins roamed the African savannas, forests, and river valleys. Fire, a natural phenomenon sparked by lightning strikes or volcanic activity, was a familiar yet unpredictable force in the ancient landscape. For early hominins, such as Homo habilis or Australopithecus, wildfires may have been both a threat and an opportunity, providing warmth, light, or access to cooked food from scorched animal remains. However, it was Homo erectus, appearing around 2 million years ago, who likely took the first steps toward controlling fire, transforming it from a fleeting natural event into a tool for survival. The transition to controlled fire use required a significant cognitive leap. Early hominins needed to observe the behavior of fire, recognize its benefits, and develop methods to capture and sustain it. This process likely began with scavenging embers from natural fires, followed by the discovery of techniques to maintain flames using dry wood, grass, or animal dung. The ability to control fire reflects a growing understanding of the environment, marking a critical milestone in the cognitive evolution of hominins. By the time Homo sapiens emerged around 300,000 years ago, fire had become an integral part of their toolkit, as evidenced by archaeological sites across Africa. Environmental conditions and opportunities. The African continent, where fire use likely originated, provided a unique environmental context for this revolution. During the Middle Pleistocene, approximately 780,000 to 130,000 years ago, Africa was characterized by a mix of savannas, woodlands, and wetlands, with frequent lightning storms that ignited wildfires. These natural fires created opportunities for early hominins to interact with flames, perhaps by scavenging cooked food or using smoldering embers for warmth. The abundance of dry vegetation, such as grasses and shrubs, provided ample fuel, while the presence of caves and rock shelters offered safe spaces to maintain fires. Climatic fluctuations also played a role. Alternating wet and dry periods, driven by global glacial cycles, altered the availability of resources and forced hominins to adapt. During dry periods, wildfires were more frequent, increasing the likelihood of fire-related interactions. Wet periods, on the other hand, supported larger populations of animals and plants, providing the resources needed to sustain groups that relied on fire for cooking and protection. This dynamic environment likely pressured early hominins to experiment with fire, leading to its integration into their daily lives. Archaeological evidence of early fire use. The earliest compelling evidence of controlled fire use comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, dated to approximately 1 million years ago. Excavations have revealed layers of ash, charred bones, and heated sediments, suggesting that Homo erectus, or a related species, maintained fires within the cave. The careful arrangement of burning materials indicates deliberate use rather than accidental burning, pointing to a sophisticated understanding of fire management. The presence of burned plant remains and animal bones suggests that fire was used for cooking, a practice that would have significant nutritional implications. In East Africa, Gesher Banat Yaakov, in Israel, approximately 790,000 years ago, provides further evidence of fire use. The site contains clusters of burned flint, wood, and seeds, arranged in what appear to be hearths. These findings suggest that hominins, likely Homo erectus, used fire for multiple purposes, including cooking and possibly tool-making. The consistent presence of fire-related artifacts across multiple layers indicates that fire was a regular part of life at this site, reflecting a cultural practice rather than an isolated event. By the time Homo sapiens emerged, fire use had become more widespread and refined. Cognitive and technical requirements. The ability to control fire required significant cognitive and technical skills. Early hominins needed to understand the relationship between fuel, oxygen, and heat. The fire triangle and develop methods to sustain flames over time. This likely involved trial and error, as they learned which materials burned best and how to protect fires from wind or rain. The development of fire-making techniques, such as friction-based fire drills or percussion with flint and pyrite, represents a major technological achievement, requiring both dexterity and foresight. The cognitive demands of fire use also suggest the presence of social learning. Maintaining a fire required cooperation, as group members likely took turns gathering fuel, tending flames, or protecting embers during travel. The transmission of fire-making knowledge across generations indicates that early hominins, and later Homo sapiens, had developed rudimentary forms of communication, possibly including gestures or proto-language, to share skills and coordinate activities. The broader impact of fire's dawn. The dawn of fire use had profound implications for human evolution. Nutritionally, fire allowed early hominins to cook food, making it easier to digest and unlocking more calories. This dietary shift, evident in the charred remains at Wonderwork and Gesher, Benot, Yakov, likely supported the development of larger brains, a trait that became pronounced in Homo sapiens. Fire also extended the range of habitable environments, enabling hominins to survive in colder regions by providing warmth and protection from predators. Socially, the use of fire created opportunities for group bonding. Hearths, as seen at later Homo sapiens sites, became focal points for communal activities, fostering cooperation and communication. These early interactions around the fire laid the groundwork for the complex social structures that would define Homo sapiens communities, as explored in later chapters. Technologically, the mastery of fire opened the door to new innovations. The ability to manipulate fire for cooking and warmth foreshadowed its use in tool-making, such as heat-treating stone to create sharper implements. These early technological advancements set the stage for the sophisticated tools and cultural practices that would emerge with Homo sapiens. Conclusion: the dawn of the flame, beginning around 1 million years ago, was a defining moment in human evolution. The transition from scavenging natural fires to controlling and maintaining flames marked a significant cognitive and technical leap for early hominins, particularly Homo erectus, and later Homo sapiens. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave and Gesher, Benot Yakov, illuminates the origins of this revolution, revealing a species capable of harnessing one of nature's most powerful forces. The mastery of fire not only enhanced survival but also set the stage for the social, cultural, and technological advancements that would define Homo sapiens' journey. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how fire became a cornerstone of human progress, shaping every aspect of our existence. The ability to create and sustain fire marked a monumental leap in human evolution, transforming fire from a fleeting gift of nature into a reliable tool for survival and progress. Initiated by early hominins, like Homo erectus, around 1 million years ago, and refined by Homo sapiens by 300,000 years ago. The art of fire-making required ingenuity, experimentation, and a deep understanding of the environment. This chapter delves into the techniques used to generate and maintain fire, the cognitive and technical skills involved, and the archaeological evidence that illuminates this critical milestone in the fire revolution. The mastery of firemaking not only enhanced survival, but also laid the foundation for technological and social advancements that would shape the trajectory of Homo sapiens. The cognitive leap of firemaking, creating fire, was not a simple task. It demanded a combination of observation, problem-solving, and technical skill. Early hominins likely began by scavenging embers from natural wildfires caused by lightning or volcanic activity, as discussed in Chapter 1. However, the transition to generating fire on demand required a significant cognitive leap, reflecting the growing intellectual capacity of species like Homo erectus and, later, Homo sapiens. This process involved understanding the fire, triangle fuel, oxygen, and heat and developing methods to manipulate these elements consistently. The cognitive demands of firemaking suggest that early hominins possessed advanced planning and learning abilities. They needed to identify suitable materials, such as dry wood or flint, and experiment with techniques to produce sparks or heat through friction. This trial and error process likely spanned generations, with knowledge passed down through observation and possibly proto-linguistic communication. The ability to teach and learn fire-making techniques indicates the emergence of social learning, a hallmark of Homo sapiens' cognitive sophistication. Techniques of fire-making. Two primary methods are believed to have been used by early hominins to create fire: friction-based techniques and percussion-based techniques. While direct evidence of these methods is scarce due to the perishable nature of organic materials, archaeological and ethnographic studies provide insights into their likely use. Friction-based fire-making. Friction-based methods, such as the fire drill or fire plow, involve generating heat through the rapid rubbing of wood against wood or other materials. The fire drill, one of the most widely documented techniques among modern hunter-gatherer societies, consists of a wooden spindle rotated against a flat wooden base, or hearth, to produce friction. The heat generated creates an ember, which can be nurtured into a flame with tinder, such as dry grass or bark. While no direct evidence of fire drills exists from 1 million years ago, the consistent presence of hearths at sites like Wonderwork Cave. Percussion-based firemaking. Percussion-based firemaking involves striking two materials, typically flint and pyrite, to produce sparks. These sparks, when caught in tinder, can be coaxed into a flame. Archaeological evidence from later Homo sapiens sites, such as Blombo's cave approximately 100,000 years ago, includes flint tools with wear patterns suggestive of striking, though direct evidence of pyrite is rare due to its tendency to degrade. The presence of burned flint at sites like Gesher Banot, Yakov approximately 790,000 years ago, supports the idea that percussion techniques were used by early hominins, possibly Homo erectus. Percussion-based methods required a keen understanding of mineral properties, as only certain stones, like flint or chert, produce sparks when struck against iron-rich minerals, like pyrite. This knowledge reflects a sophisticated interaction with the environment, as hominins needed to identify and source specific materials. Maintaining and transporting fire. Once fire was created, maintaining and transporting it was equally critical. Early hominins likely used slow-burning materials, such as dried dung or fungal tinder, to keep embers alive during travel. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherers, such as the San people of southern Africa, show that embers were carried in containers like leather pouches or hollowed-out wood, suggesting similar practices among early Homo sapiens. The consistent presence of hearths at archaeological sites indicates that groups maintained fires over extended periods, requiring careful tending and fuel management. Archaeological evidence of firemaking. Archaeological sites across Africa and beyond provide indirect evidence of firemaking skills. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, ash layers and charred bones dated to approximately 1 million years ago suggest that Homo erectus maintained fires within a sheltered environment. The depth and consistency of these layers indicate repeated fire use, implying that hominins had developed reliable methods to create or sustain flames. Qasim Cave in Israel, approximately 400,000 years ago, offers further clues. The site contains multiple hearths with burned bones, flint, and plant remains, arranged in a way that suggests deliberate fire management. The presence of cut marks on bones near hearths indicates that fire was used for cooking, while the burned flint suggests experimentation with percussion techniques. These findings point to a cultural practice of firemaking that was passed down through generations. By the time Homo sapiens emerged, firemaking had become more refined. At Clay's River mouth approximately 120,000 years ago, hearths, surrounded by shellfish and animal bones, suggest that fire was a central part of daily life, used for cooking and social activities. Pinnacle Point approximately 164,000 years ago provides evidence of advanced fire use, with heat-treated silkrete, indicating that Homo sapiens manipulated fire to enhance toolmaking. These sites collectively demonstrate the increasing sophistication of firemaking techniques among early modern humans. Cognitive and social implications. The art of firemaking had profound cognitive and social implications. The ability to generate fire required planning, experimentation, and an understanding of cause and effect skills that reflect advanced cognitive development. For example, selecting appropriate materials, maintaining the right pressure in a fire drill, or nurturing an ember into a flame demanded patience and problem-solving. These skills likely contributed to the expansion of the prefrontal cortex in Homo sapiens, as discussed in earlier chapters on their cognitive evolution. Socially, firemaking was a communal activity that fostered cooperation. Creating and maintaining a fire often required multiple individuals to gather fuel, tend flames, or protect embers during travel. This collaboration strengthened group bonds and likely necessitated communication, whether through gestures, vocalizations, or language. The transmission of firemaking knowledge across generations suggests the presence of social learning, a key factor in the cultural accumulation that set Homo sapiens apart from other hominins. Comparisons with other hominins. Firemaking was not exclusive to Homo sapiens. Evidence from Gesher Banatia, a Kuv, and Wonderwork Cave suggests that Homo erectus used fire as early as 1 million years ago. The ability of Homo sapiens to systematically create and use fire for diverse purposes likely gave them a competitive edge. Their advanced cognitive and social capabilities allowed them to develop more reliable and efficient firemaking methods, contributing to their survival and eventual dominance over other hominins. The legacy of firemaking. The art of firemaking was a cornerstone of the fire revolution, with lasting implications for human evolution. By enabling reliable access to fire, early hominins and Homo sapiens could cook food, stay warm, and protect themselves, enhancing their survival in diverse environments. The technical skills developed through firemaking, such as material selection and experimentation, laid the groundwork for later technological innovations, such as metallurgy and ceramics. Socially, the act of creating and maintaining fire fostered cooperation and communication, setting the stage for the complex social structures of Homo sapiens. The hearth, as a product of firemaking, became a focal point for community life, as explored in later chapters. The mastery of firemaking was not just a technical achievement, but a catalyst for the cultural and technological advancements that would define human history. Conclusion. The art of firemaking, emerging around 1 million years ago and refined by Homo sapiens, was a transformative milestone in human evolution. From friction-based fire drills to percussion techniques, early hominins developed sophisticated methods to generate and sustain fire, as evidenced by sites like Wonderwork Cave, Kesem Cave, and Pinnacle Point. These skills required advanced cognitive and social abilities, reflecting the growing complexity of Homo sapiens and their predecessors. The mastery of firemaking not only enhanced survival, but also paved the way for the social, cultural, and technological developments that would shape the human story, as we will explore in subsequent chapters. The advent of cooking, enabled by the controlled use of fire around 1 million years ago, marked a transformative milestone in human evolution, often termed the nutritional revolution, initiated by early hominins like Homo erectus and refined by Homo sapiens by 300,000 years ago. Cooking fundamentally altered the human diet, unlocking new sources of energy and nutrients that fueled physical and cognitive development. This chapter explores the origins of cooking, its impact on nutrition and brain growth, the archaeological evidence supporting its widespread use, and its broader implications for the survival and success of Homo sapiens. By transforming raw food into more digestible and calorie-rich forms, cooking reshaped the evolutionary trajectory of our species, setting the stage for social and cultural advancements. The origins of cooking. The use of fire for cooking likely began as early hominins observed the effects of wildfires on food sources. Natural fires, sparked by lightning or volcanic activity, would have roasted plants and animals, making them softer, tastier, and easier to chew. Early hominins, such as Homo erectus, likely scavenged these cooked remains, noticing their enhanced palatability over time. As they mastered fire control, as discussed in chapters 1 and 2, they began to deliberately cook food, a practice that became widespread among Homo sapiens. Cooking involves applying heat to food through methods like roasting over an open flame, baking in ashes, or boiling in natural containers like shells or hides. These techniques required not only firemaking skills, but also an understanding of how heat alters food properties. The cognitive ability to plan and execute cooking reflects a significant leap in problem-solving and experimentation, hallmarks of early human ingenuity. Archaeological evidence of cooking. Archaeological sites across Africa and beyond provide compelling evidence of cooking practices. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, approximately 1 million years ago, charred bones and plant remains found in ash layers suggest that Homo erectus used fire to cook food. The presence of burned seeds and tubers indicates that early hominins processed a variety of food sources, not just meat. These findings point to deliberate cooking rather than accidental burning, as the materials were concentrated in specific hearth-like structures. In Israel, Gesher Benot Yaakov, approximately 790,000 years ago, offers further evidence. The site contains clusters of burned bones, seeds, and wood, arranged in what appear to be hearths. The diversity of burned plant remains, including olives and barley-like grains, suggests that early hominins used fire to process both plant and animal foods, broadening their dietary range. The consistent presence of these materials across multiple layers indicates that cooking was a regular practice. By the time Homo sapiens emerged, cooking had become a central part of daily life. At Clay's river mouth in South Africa, approximately 120,000 years ago, hearths, surrounded by shellfish, fish bones, and mammal remains demonstrate that Homo sapiens cooked a wide variety of foods. The presence of charred shellfish suggests that coastal populations exploited marine resources, using fire to open shells and enhance flavor. Similarly, Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago, contains evidence of cooked shellfish and plant materials, indicating that Homo sapiens relied on fire to process diverse food sources in response to environmental challenges. Nutritional benefits of cooking. The nutritional revolution brought about by cooking had profound effects on human biology. Cooking breaks down complex carbohydrates, proteins, and fibers, making them easier to digest and absorb. For example, starches in roots and tubers become gelatinized when heated, increasing their caloric yield. Proteins in meat denature during cooking, becoming more accessible to digestive enzymes. These changes allowed early hominins to extract more energy from their food, a critical factor in supporting the high energy demands of their growing brains. The brain of Homo sapiens, averaging 1,350 cubic centimeters, required significantly more energy than that of earlier hominins like Homo erectus, approximately 900 to 1,200 cc. Cooking provided a solution by increasing the efficiency of food consumption. Studies estimate that cooked food yields up to 50% more calories than raw food, reducing the time and energy spent on chewing and digestion. This surplus energy likely contributed to the expansion of the brain's frontal and temporal lobes, which are associated with advanced cognitive functions like planning, language, and social interaction. Cooking also improved dietary diversity. By making tough or toxic plants edible, such as roots, tubers, and certain seeds, cooking expanded the range of available food sources. This was particularly important during periods of environmental stress, such as droughts, when traditional food sources were scarce. The ability to process marine resources, as seen at Clay's river mouth, further enhanced dietary resilience, allowing Homo sapiens to thrive in coastal environments. Health and longevity impacts. Beyond nutrition, cooking had significant health benefits. By killing pathogens and parasites in raw meat, cooking reduced the risk of foodborne illnesses, improving overall health and survival rates. The softer texture of cooked food also reduced wear on teeth, as evidenced by the less abraded dental remains of Homo sapiens compared to earlier hominins. This likely contributed to increased longevity, allowing individuals to live longer and contribute to group survival through knowledge sharing and caregiving. Cooking also supported reproductive success. The energy surplus from cooked food enabled females to sustain pregnancies and nurse infants more effectively, as they required less energy for digestion. This likely led to shorter interbirth intervals and higher infant survival rates, contributing to population growth. The archaeological record, with its evidence of larger group sizes at Homo sapiens sites, supports the idea that cooking facilitated demographic expansion. Social and cultural implications. Cooking was not just a nutritional practice, it was a social and cultural catalyst. The preparation and sharing of cooked food required cooperation, as group members gathered fuel, tended fires, and processed ingredients. Hearths, as seen at Clay's river mouth and Kesem Cave, became focal points for communal activities, where individuals shared meals and interacted. These gatherings fostered social bonds, likely encouraging the development of language and storytelling, as groups discussed hunting strategies or shared cultural narratives around the fire. The act of cooking also introduced new social roles. Some individuals may have specialized in food preparation, while others focused on hunting or gathering fuel. This division of labor, evident in the diverse food remains at MSA sites, suggests the emergence of structured social groups. The sharing of cooked food reinforced group cohesion, as individuals relied on each other for sustenance, a practice that set Homo sapiens apart from other hominins with less complex social structures. Comparisons with other hominins. Cooking was not exclusive to Homo sapiens. Evidence from Gesher Benot, Ya'akuv, and Wonderwork Cave suggests that Homo erectus cooked food as early as 1 million years ago. The nutritional advantages of cooking likely gave Homo sapiens a competitive edge. Their ability to extract more energy from food supported larger brains and more complex behaviors, such as symbolic thought and advanced tool-making, as discussed in earlier chapters. This dietary efficiency may have contributed to their ability to outcompete or absorb other hominins during their dispersal out of Africa. The legacy of the nutritional revolution. The nutritional revolution, driven by cooking, had far-reaching implications for human evolution. By providing a reliable source of high-calorie, nutrient-rich food, cooking supported the physical and cognitive development of Homo sapiens, enabling the growth of larger brains and more complex social structures. The health benefits of cooking, such as reduced disease and increased longevity, contributed to population growth and resilience. Cooking also laid the foundation for later cultural and technological advancements. The social gatherings around hearths foreshadowed the communal rituals and feasts of later societies, while the dietary flexibility enabled by cooking supported the transition to agriculture thousands of years later. The nutritional revolution was a critical step in the journey of Homo sapiens, shaping their biology, culture, and survival strategies. Conclusion: the nutritional revolution, sparked by the use of fire for cooking around 1 million years ago, transformed the human diet and set the stage for the evolutionary success of Homo sapiens. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave, Clayse's River mouth, and Pinnacle Point reveals the widespread practice of cooking, which provided nutritional health and social benefits. By unlocking more energy from food, cooking fueled the development of larger brains, improved health, and fostered social cohesion, laying the groundwork for the cultural and technological advancements that would define human history. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how cooking shaped the social and environmental interactions of early Homo sapiens. The fire revolution, which began around 1 million years ago, transformed the survival strategies of early hominins and later Homo sapiens by providing a powerful tool for protection against the perils of their environment. Fire served as a shield, warding off predators, extending safe living spaces, and enabling early humans to thrive in hostile landscapes. This protective role, honed by Homo sapiens as they emerged around 300,000 years ago, was crucial to their survival and eventual global dispersal. This chapter explores how fire was used to create secure environments, the archaeological evidence supporting its defensive applications, and the profound social and evolutionary impacts of this protective shield on early human communities. The hostile world of early humans, the ancient landscapes of Africa, where Homo sapiens and their predecessors like Homo erectus lived, were teeming with danger. Large predators such as lions, leopards, hyenas, and crocodiles roamed the savannas, woodlands, and riverbanks, posing constant threats to early human groups. These animals, particularly active at night, targeted vulnerable hominins who lacked the physical defenses of other mammals, such as sharp claws or thick hides. The introduction of controlled fire, likely pioneered by Homo erectus and refined by Homo sapiens, revolutionized their ability to protect themselves. Fire's light illuminated the darkness, its heat repelled animals, and its smoke disrupted predators' senses. By creating a barrier against threats, fire allowed early humans to establish safe campsites, expand their activity into nighttime hours, and lay the groundwork for more complex social interactions. Archaeological evidence of fire's protective role. Archaeological sites across Africa provide compelling evidence of fire's use as a defensive tool. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, approximately 1 million years ago, layers of ash and charred bones indicate that Homo erectus maintained fires within the cave's sheltered environment. The strategic placement of hearths near the cave entrance suggests that fire was used to deter predators, creating a safe space for rest and communal activities. The consistency of fire use across multiple layers points to a deliberate strategy for protection. In East Africa, Gesher Benot Yaakov, approximately 790,000 years ago, reveals clusters of burned wood, flint, and plant remains arranged in hearth-like structures. Located near a water source, a magnet for both humans and predators, the site suggests that fire was used to secure the area against animals like crocodiles or large felids. The repeated presence of hearths indicates that fire was a regular feature of these early campsites, enhancing group safety. For Homo sapiens, fire's protective role became even more pronounced during the Middle Stone Age, MSA, at Clay's River mouth in South Africa, approximately 120,000 years ago. Hearths surrounded by shellfish remains, animal bones, and tools suggest that coastal groups used fire to create secure communal spaces. The proximity to the ocean, rich in resources but vulnerable to predators, likely necessitated fire as a deterrent. Similarly, Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago, contains hearths within rock shelters, indicating that Homo sapiens used fire to fortify their dwellings against both predators and environmental challenges, such as cold coastal winds. Fire's defensive mechanisms. Fire's effectiveness as a shield stemmed from its multifaceted properties. The light from flames disrupted the night vision of nocturnal predators, making it difficult for animals like leopards to stalk their prey. The heat of a fire created a physical barrier, discouraging animals from approaching too closely. Smoke, with its pungent odor and irritating effects, further repelled predators and insects, such as mosquitoes, which could carry diseases. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, like the Hadza of Tanzania, show that fires are maintained at night to keep predators at bay, a practice likely rooted in the behaviors of early Homo sapiens. The strategic use of fire extended beyond static campsites. During travel, early humans may have carried smoldering embers in containers like leather pouches or hollowed-out wood, as suggested by ethnographic parallels. This allowed them to establish temporary fires in new locations, ensuring protection during migration or hunting expeditions. The archaeological record, with its evidence of hearths in open sites, like Olorgesailie, approximately 320,000 years ago, supports the idea that fire was a portable shield, enhancing safety in diverse environments. Fire also provided protection against environmental challenges. As Homo sapiens began their dispersal out of Africa, approximately 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, fire offered warmth in colder climates, such as the Eurasian steppes, enabling survival in regions previously uninhabitable. This adaptability was crucial for their global expansion, as discussed in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series. Social and behavioral impacts. The protective role of fire had profound social and behavioral consequences. By creating safe spaces, fire extended the hours available for human activity, allowing Homo sapiens to work, socialize, and plan during the night. Hearths, as seen at Clay's River mouth and Pinnacle Point, became central gathering points where groups shared food, crafted tools, and exchanged stories. These nighttime activities likely fostered the development of language and cultural practices, as individuals communicated in the safety of firelight. The security provided by fire also encouraged the formation of larger, more stable groups. Safe campsites allowed Homo sapiens to congregate in greater numbers, reducing individual vulnerability and enhancing collective defense. The archaeological evidence of larger hearths and diverse artifacts at MSA sites suggests that groups cooperated to maintain fires, share resources, and protect each other. This cooperative behavior, as explored in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series, was a key factor in their social complexity and evolutionary success. Fire's protective role also introduced new social dynamics. Maintaining a fire required collective effort, with individuals gathering fuel, tending flames, or guarding embers. This division of labor, evident in the variety of artifacts around hearths, suggests the emergence of specialized roles within groups, a precursor to the structured societies of later human history. Comparisons with other hominins. The use of fire for protection was not unique to Homo sapiens. Homo erectus likely used fire to deter predators, as evidenced by the hearths at Wonderwork Cave and Gesher Benot Yaakov. The ability of Homo sapiens to integrate fire into a broader range of activities, cooking, tool-making, and social bonding, gave them an advantage over other hominins. Their larger social networks and advanced cognitive abilities, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series, allowed them to leverage fire's protective role more effectively, contributing to their dominance. The broader significance of fire as a shield. The use of fire as a shield was a critical component of the fire revolution, enabling early Homo sapiens to survive in environments filled with predators and harsh conditions. By creating safe spaces, fire expanded the geographical and temporal range of human activity, facilitating their dispersal out of Africa and into diverse climates. The security provided by fire allowed Homo sapiens to establish stable campsites, fostering the social interactions that underpinned their cultural and technological advancements. The hearth, as a product of fire's protective role, became a symbol of community and safety, laying the foundation for the complex social structures of Homo sapiens. The cooperative behaviors required to maintain fires foreshadowed the division of labor and social organization that would characterize later societies. Fire's role as a shield was not just a survival strategy, but a catalyst for the human journey towards civilization. Conclusion: fire as a shield transformed the survival prospects of early Homo sapiens and their predecessors, providing protection against predators and environmental challenges. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave, Clay's River Mouth, and Pinnacle Point reveals the strategic use of fire to create safe havens, enabling nighttime activities and fostering social cohesion. By extending the hours and spaces available for human interaction, fire laid the groundwork for the cultural, social, and technological advancements that would define Homo sapiens' history. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how fire's protective role intertwined with other aspects of the fire revolution, shaping the course of human evolution. The fire revolution, ignited approximately 1 million years ago, empowered early hominins, and later, Homo sapiens, to not only survive, but actively shape their environments. By using controlled burns, early humans manipulated landscapes to enhance resource availability, facilitate hunting, and create habitable spaces. This practice, refined by Homo sapiens around 300,000 years ago, marked a profound shift in the human-environment relationship, transforming Homo sapiens from passive inhabitants to active architects of their world. This chapter explores the use of fire to shape landscapes, the archaeological and ethnographic evidence supporting this practice, and its far-reaching implications for the survival, dispersal, and cultural development of Homo sapiens. Fire as a tool for environmental management. The ability to control fire gave early hominins a powerful tool to alter their surroundings. Unlike other animals, which adapted to existing environments, early humans used fire to modify landscapes to suit their needs. Controlled burns, where vegetation was deliberately set alight, cleared dense undergrowth, encouraged the growth of edible plants, and attracted game animals to newly sprouted grasslands. This practice, likely pioneered by Homo erectus and expanded by Homo sapiens, allowed early humans to increase food availability and create safer, more navigable terrains. The use of fire to shape landscapes required a sophisticated understanding of ecology. Early humans needed to know which areas to burn, when to burn them, and how to control the spread of fire to avoid catastrophic blazes. This knowledge, developed through observation and experimentation, reflects the growing cognitive complexity of hominins, particularly Homo sapiens, whose larger brains and social structures enabled them to refine these practices. Archaeological evidence of landscape management. Direct evidence of controlled burns is challenging to identify in the archaeological record, due to the ephemeral nature of fire-altered landscapes. However, indirect evidence from African sites provides insights into how early hominins and Homo sapiens used fire to manage their environments. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, approximately 1 million years ago, ash layers and charred plant remains suggest that Homo erectus used fire within and around the cave, while primarily associated with cooking and warmth. The presence of burned vegetation outside the cave hints at possible landscape manipulation to clear areas or attract game. In East Africa, Alorgesailie in Kenya, approximately 320,000 years ago, offers clues about environmental management. The site contains evidence of diverse faunal remains, including large herbivores like antelopes, which thrive in open grasslands. The transition from Aquiline to Middle Stone Age MSA tools at Alorgesailie coincides with the emergence of Homo sapiens. suggesting that they used fire to maintain grassy areas that attracted these animals, facilitating hunting. The presence of non-local obsidian tools also indicates that Homo sapiens moved through managed landscapes, possibly created by controlled burns. Klesi's rivermouth, approximately 120,000 years ago, in South Africa provides further evidence. The site's coastal location, rich in marine resources, suggests that Homo sapiens used fire to clear vegetation near the shore, creating open spaces for campsites and resource exploitation. The abundance of charred plant remains alongside hearths supports the idea that fire was used to manage local vegetation, possibly to encourage the growth of edible plants or to clear paths for movement. Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago, also offers insights. The site's rock shelters, surrounded by burned plant materials, suggest that Homo sapiens used fire to clear nearby vegetation, creating safer and more accessible living spaces. The presence of diverse food remains, including shellfish and small mammals, indicates that managed landscapes provided a reliable food supply, even during periods of environmental stress. Ethnographic parallels and controlled burns. While direct archaeological evidence of controlled burns is limited, ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups provide valuable parallels. Groups like the Matu of Australia and the San of southern Africa use controlled burns to manage landscapes, a practice likely rooted in ancient traditions. These burns clear underbrush, promote the growth of nutrient-rich grasses, and attract herbivores like antelopes, making them easier to hunt. The resulting mosaic landscapes, patches of burned and unburned areas, enhance biodiversity and resource availability, a strategy that Homo sapiens may have employed. These ethnographic insights suggest that early Homo sapiens used fire to create favorable conditions for hunting and gathering. By burning dry vegetation during the dry season, they could stimulate new plant growth during the wet season, attracting animals and increasing food availability. This practice would have been particularly important in the fluctuating climates of the Middle Pleistocene, where resource scarcity drove innovation. Ecological and social impacts. The use of fire to shape landscapes had profound ecological and social impacts. Ecologically controlled burns altered vegetation patterns, creating open grasslands that supported large herbivores, as seen in the faunal remains at Orogezili. These managed landscapes increased the availability of food, enabling Homo sapiens to sustain larger populations. Fire also reduced the risk of uncontrolled wildfires by clearing excess vegetation, creating safer environments for habitation. Socially, landscape management required cooperation and planning. Organizing controlled burns involved coordinating group efforts, with individuals scouting areas, gathering fuel, and monitoring fires to prevent them from spreading uncontrollably. This collaboration, evident in the complex artifact assemblages at MSA sites, suggests the presence of structured social groups, as discussed in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series. The shared goal of managing the environment strengthened group cohesion and likely necessitated communication, possibly through proto-language or gestures. Landscape management also facilitated mobility. By creating open, navigable terrains, Homo sapiens could move more easily between resource-rich areas. As evidenced by the long-distance trade of obsidian at Orogezili, this mobility was crucial during their dispersal out of Africa, 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, as discussed in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series, allowing them to adapt to new environments. Comparisons with other hominins. The use of fire for landscape management was likely not exclusive to Homo sapiens. This strategic use of fire gave Homo sapiens a competitive edge, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series. By creating resource-rich landscapes, they could support larger populations and exploit a wider range of food sources, contributing to their dominance over other hominins like Neanderthals and Denisovans. The broader significance of landscape shaping. The use of fire to shape landscapes marked a turning point in the human-environment relationship, transforming Homo sapiens into active agents of ecological change. This practice enhanced food security, facilitated mobility, and supported population growth, laying the groundwork for their global dispersal. Socially, landscape management strengthened group cooperation and communication, fostering the complex social structures that defined Homo sapiens. The ecological knowledge required to manipulate fire effectively reflects the cognitive sophistication that set them apart from other hominins. These early practices of environmental management laid the foundation for humanity's ongoing role as a dominant force in shaping the natural world. Conclusion: the use of fire to shape landscapes was a transformative aspect of the fire revolution, enabling early Homo sapiens and their predecessors to actively manage their environments. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork, Cave, Ologesili, and Pinnacle Point, combined with ethnographic parallels, reveals how controlled burns created resource-rich landscapes and safer living spaces. This practice not only enhanced survival, but also fostered social cooperation and ecological knowledge, setting the stage for the cultural and technological advancements of Homo sapiens. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how landscape shaping intertwined with other aspects of the fire revolution, shaping the course of human evolution. The fire revolution, which began approximately 1 million years ago, was a transformative force in human evolution, not only for its roles in cooking and protection, but also for its profound impact on toolmaking. By harnessing fire, early hominins like Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens developed innovative techniques to enhance the quality and functionality of their tools, marking a significant leap in technological sophistication. Fire enabled the creation of sharper, more durable implements and facilitated the development of composite tools, revolutionizing how early humans interacted with their environment. This chapter explores the ways fire was used in toolmaking, the archaeological evidence supporting these innovations, and their broader implications for the survival and cultural development of Homo sapiens. Fire as a technological catalyst. The controlled use of fire opened new possibilities for toolmaking, allowing early humans to manipulate materials in ways previously unimaginable. Fire's heat could alter the physical properties of stone, wood, and other materials, making them easier to shape or more effective for specific tasks. This technological leap required a deep understanding of material properties and fire management, reflecting the cognitive advancements of early hominins and Homo sapiens. By integrating fire into tool production, early humans enhanced their ability to hunt, process resources, and adapt to diverse environments, setting the stage for later technological revolutions. The use of fire in toolmaking was not merely a practical innovation, but a testament to human ingenuity. It required planning, experimentation, and the ability to control fire precisely, skills that became increasingly refined with the emergence of Homo sapiens around 300,000 years ago. These innovations laid the foundation for the sophisticated technologies that would define human progress. From the Middle Stone Age (MSA) to the modern era, archaeological evidence of fire-based toolmaking. Archaeological sites across Africa provide compelling evidence of fire's role in toolmaking. At Blombos Cave, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago. Also in South Africa, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of fire-based adhesive production. Homo sapiens used ochre and plant resin, heated in abalone shells, to create a sticky compound for hafting stone points onto wooden shafts. This process, which required precise temperature control to avoid burning the adhesive, produced composite tools like spears and arrows, enhancing hunting efficiency. The discovery of an ochre processing workshop at Blombos highlights the integration of fire into complex toolmaking techniques. In East Africa, Ologesili approximately 320,000 years ago provides evidence of fire's influence on tool production. The site contains MSA tools, including points and scrapers, some of which show signs of heat exposure. While direct evidence of heat treatment is less clear than at Pinnacle Point, the presence of burned flint and hearths suggests that Homo sapiens used fire to process materials, possibly to improve tool quality or to harden wooden implements. The transition from Aquilan to MSA tools at Ologesili coincides with the emergence of Homo sapiens, indicating that fire played a role in their technological advancements. Wonderwork Cave, approximately 1 million years ago, offers earlier evidence of fire use by Homo erectus, with charred bones and plant remains, suggesting that fire was part of a broader technological toolkit. While direct evidence of toolmaking with fire is limited at this site, the consistent use of hearths suggests that early hominins experimented with fire's applications, laying the groundwork for later innovations by Homo sapiens. Fire-based tool-making techniques. Fire was used in several distinct ways to enhance tool-making. Heat treatment of stone. Heat treatment, as seen at Pinnacle Point, transformed the properties of stones like silkreed, chert, and flint, making them more brittle and easier to flake into sharp, precise tools. This process required careful control of fire to achieve the right temperature without cracking the stone. The resulting tools, such as blades and points, were sharper and more durable, improving efficiency in tasks like hunting, butchering, and processing plant materials. Heat treatment represents one of the earliest examples of material science, showcasing the technological ingenuity of Homo sapiens. Hardening wooden tools. Fire was also used to harden wooden implements, such as spear tips or digging sticks. By charring the ends of wooden shafts in a controlled fire, early humans increased their strength and durability, making them more effective for piercing or digging. While wooden artifacts rarely survive in the archaeological record, ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherers, such as the Sand People, suggest that this technique was widely used. The presence of hafted tools at sites like Blombo's Cave supports the idea that fire-hardened wood was a key component of composite tools. Adhesive production. The creation of adhesives for hearthing, as evidenced at Blombo's Cave, involved heating ochre and plant resin to produce a sticky compound. This process required precise fire management to melt the materials without destroying their adhesive properties. The resulting composite tools, such as spears with stone points attached to wooden shafts, allowed Homo sapiens to hunt more effectively, targeting larger game from a safe distance. This innovation marked a significant advancement in tool functionality, reflecting the integration of fire into complex technological processes. Cognitive and social implications. The use of fire in tool-making required significant cognitive and social skills. Heat treatment and adhesive production demanded an understanding of material properties, temperature control, and sequential planning. For example, heat-treating silkreed involved selecting suitable stones, building a fire, maintaining a specific temperature, and cooling the material slowly, a multi-step process that reflects advanced problem-solving abilities. These skills, evident in the MSA toolkit of Homo sapiens, highlight the cognitive leap that accompanied their emergence, as discussed in Chapter 1 of the Homo sapiens series. Socially, fire-based toolmaking was a collaborative effort. Producing heat-treated tools or adhesives likely involved multiple individuals gathering materials, tending fires, and shaping implements. The ochre processing workshop at Blombo's Cave suggests that groups worked together to produce tools, with specialized roles for different tasks. This cooperation, as explored in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series, strengthened social bonds and facilitated the transmission of technical knowledge across generations, a key factor in Homo sapiens' cultural accumulation. Comparisons with other hominins. While Homo sapiens excelled in using fire for toolmaking, earlier hominins like Homo erectus also used fire, as seen at Wonderwork Cave and Gesher, Benot Yaakov, approximately 790,000 years ago. However, evidence of fire-based toolmaking by Homo erectus is limited, with most fire use focused on cooking and warmth. Neanderthals, as seen at Kebera Cave, approximately 60,000 years ago, used fire for cooking and possibly hardening wooden tools, but there is little evidence of advanced techniques like heat treatment or adhesive production. The more sophisticated use of fire by Homo sapiens, as evidenced at Pinnacle Point and Blombo's Cave, reflects their advanced cognitive and social capabilities. These innovations, combined with their versatile toolkits, gave Homo sapiens a competitive edge over other hominins, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series, contributing to their dominance during their dispersal out of Africa. The broader significance of fire-based toolmaking. The use of fire in toolmaking was a pivotal aspect of the fire revolution, enhancing the technological capabilities of Homo sapiens. Heat-treated stone tools and composite implements improved hunting and resource processing, enabling early humans to exploit a wider range of environments. These advancements supported their dispersal out of Africa 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, as discussed in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series. By providing the tools needed to survive in diverse climates, the technological knowledge required for fire-based toolmaking foreshadowed later innovations, such as metallurgy and ceramics, which also relied on controlled heat. The collaborative nature of these processes strengthened social structures. fostering the cooperation and knowledge sharing that defined Homo sapiens' success. By transforming raw materials into sophisticated tools, fire laid the foundation for the technological advancements that would shape human history. Conclusion: the integration of fire into toolmaking was a transformative milestone in the fire revolution, enabling Homo sapiens to create sharper, more durable, and versatile implements. Archaeological evidence from sites like Pinnacle Point, Blombos Cave, and Olorgesailie reveals the sophisticated use of fire for heat treatment, adhesive production, and hardening wood. These innovations reflect the cognitive and social complexity of Homo sapiens, setting them apart from other hominins and supporting their survival and dispersal. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how fire-based toolmaking intertwined with other aspects of the fire revolution, shaping the technological and cultural trajectory of human evolution. The fire revolution, beginning around 1 million years ago, transformed human existence not only through practical applications like cooking and toolmaking, but also by creating a focal point for social interaction, the hearth. For early hominins like Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens, the hearth where fires were maintained for warmth, cooking, and protection became a central hub for communal activities, fostering cooperation, communication, and cultural development. This chapter explores the role of the hearth as a social hub, the archaeological evidence supporting its significance, and its profound impact on the social structures and evolutionary success of Homo sapiens. By bringing people together, the hearth laid the foundation for the complex societies that would define human history. The hearth as a gathering place, the hearth, a designated area where fire was maintained, served as more than a source of heat and light. It was the heart of early human communities. For Homo sapiens and their predecessors, the hearth provided a safe, illuminated space where groups could gather to share food, craft tools, and engage in social interactions. This communal space, created by the controlled use of fire, extended the hours available for human activity, allowing nighttime gatherings that were previously limited by darkness and predator threats. As discussed in Chapter 4, the hearth's role as a gathering place fostered social cohesion, as individuals collaborated on tasks like preparing meals or maintaining the fire. These gatherings likely encouraged the exchange of ideas, stories, and knowledge, laying the groundwork for the development of language and cultural traditions. The hearth transformed early human groups from loosely organized bands into tightly knit communities, a critical factor in Homo sapiens' ability to thrive and expand. Archaeological evidence of hearth-centered activities. Archaeological sites across Africa and beyond provide compelling evidence of the hearth's role as a social hub. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, approximately 1 million years ago, ash layers and charred bones indicate that Homo erectus maintained fires within the cave, creating a communal space for cooking and interaction. The concentration of artifacts, such as stone tools and food remains, around hearths suggests that these areas were focal points for group activities, even in this early period. In East Africa, Gesher Benot Yaakov in Israel, approximately 790,000 years ago, contains multiple hearths with burned bones, flint, and plant remains. The arrangement of these hearths, often in clusters, suggests that groups gathered around them to process food and tools, fostering social interaction. The diversity of artifacts, including cut-marked bones and shaped stones, indicates that hearths were multifunctional spaces where cooking, toolmaking, and socializing occurred simultaneously. By the Middle Stone Age MSA, Homo sapiens had refined the use of hearths as social hubs. At Clay's River mouth in South Africa approximately 120,000 years ago, hearths are surrounded by shellfish remains, animal bones, and stone tools, suggesting that groups came together to cook, eat, and work. The coastal location, rich in marine resources, likely made the hearth a central gathering point for sharing meals and planning activities. Similarly, Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago, contains hearths within rock shelters, accompanied by heat-treated silkreed tools and food remains, indicating that these spaces were used for both practical and social purposes. Blombos Cave, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, provides further evidence of the hearth's social significance. The site's ochre processing workshop, located near hearths, suggests that groups collaborated on complex tasks like adhesive production for hafting tools. The presence of engraved ochre and shell beads around hearths indicates that these spaces were also used for symbolic activities, such as creating adornments, which likely reinforced social bonds and group identity. Social dynamics around the hearth. The hearth was a catalyst for social interaction, bringing individuals together in ways that strengthened group cohesion. Cooking, as discussed in Chapter 3, was a communal activity that required cooperation, with individuals gathering fuel, preparing food, and sharing meals. The act of sharing cooked food, as evidenced by the diverse food remains at Clay's river mouth, fostered trust and reciprocity, key elements of early Homo sapiens social structures. The hearth also provided a space for storytelling and knowledge transmission. As groups gathered around the fire, they likely shared stories about hunts, environmental observations, or cultural traditions. This oral exchange, possibly facilitated by proto-language or gestures, as explored in Chapter 4 of the Homo sapiens series, laid the foundation for the development of complex language. The transmission of knowledge around the hearth, such as fire-making techniques or tool production, enabled cultural accumulation, allowing Homo sapiens to build on previous innovations. The hearth also introduced social roles within groups. Maintaining a fire required tasks like fuel collection, fire tending, and ember preservation, likely performed by different individuals. The presence of specialized artifacts, such as heat-treated tools at pinnacle point, suggests that some individuals focused on technical tasks, while others may have contributed through food preparation or storytelling. This division of labor, evident in the diversity of artifacts around hearths, foreshadowed the structured societies of later human history. Cultural and symbolic significance. Beyond its practical functions, the hearth likely held cultural and symbolic significance. The fire's light and warmth created a sense of security and community, as discussed in Chapter 4, making the hearth a natural focal point for rituals and ceremonies. At Blombo's cave, the presence of engraved ochre and shell beads near hearths suggests that these spaces were used for symbolic activities, such as creating adornments that signified group identity or status. The use of ochre, possibly for body painting or rituals, indicates that hearths were sites of cultural expression, where Homo sapiens reinforced their social bonds through shared symbols. The hearth's role as a cultural hub is further supported by ethnographic parallels. Modern hunter-gatherer groups, such as the San of southern Africa, gather around fires to share stories, sing, and perform rituals, practices likely rooted in the behaviors of early Homo sapiens. The hearth, as a place of light and warmth in the darkness, may have symbolized life, community, or spiritual connection, a theme that persists in many human cultures. Comparisons with other hominins. The use of hearths as social hubs was not exclusive to Homo sapiens. Homo erectus likely gathered around fires, as seen at Wonderwork Cave and Gesher Benot Yakov, where hearths were associated with food and tool processing. Neanderthals also used hearths, as evidenced at Kebera Cave approximately 60,000 years ago, where centralized hearths suggest communal activities. However, Homo sapiens appear to have used hearths more extensively and creatively, integrating them into a broader range of activities, including symbolic and cultural practices. The presence of complex artifacts, such as engraved ochre and beads, around Homo sapiens hearths indicates a higher level of social and cultural complexity compared to Neanderthals, whose hearths show less evidence of symbolic activity. This sophistication, combined with Homo sapiens' larger social networks, as discussed in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series, gave them a competitive edge, contributing to their dominance over other hominins. The broader significance of the hearth's role as a social hub had profound implications for human evolution. By providing a safe, illuminated space for interaction, hearths fostered the development of language, storytelling, and cultural traditions, which were critical to Homo sapiens' cognitive and social evolution. The cooperative activities around hearths, such as food sharing and tool making, strengthened group cohesion and facilitated the division of labor, laying the groundwork for complex societies. The hearth also supported Homo sapiens' dispersal out of Africa 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, as discussed in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series. By creating communal spaces in new environments, hearths enabled groups to maintain social bonds and adapt to diverse climates, from tropical forests to cold steppes. The cultural practices developed around hearths, such as storytelling and ritual, became the foundation for the diverse cultural traditions that characterize human history. Conclusion: the hearth, as a central feature of the fire revolution, transformed early Homo sapiens communities by providing a space for social interaction, cooperation, and cultural expression. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork, Cave Clases, Rivermouth, and Blombo's Cave reveals the multifaceted role of hearths in cooking, toolmaking, and symbolic activities. By fostering communication, knowledge sharing, and group cohesion, the hearth laid the foundation for the complex social structures and cultural traditions that defined Homo sapiens. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how the hearth's role as a social hub intertwined with other aspects of the fire revolution, shaping the course of human evolution. The fire revolution, beginning around 1 million years ago, was not only a practical milestone, but also a profound cultural catalyst in human evolution. For early hominins like Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens, fire transcended its utilitarian roles in cooking, protection, and toolmaking, becoming a powerful symbol imbued with cultural and spiritual significance. The hearth, where fires were maintained, served as a focal point for rituals, storytelling, and social bonding, fostering the development of cultural practices that defined Homo sapiens. This chapter explores the symbolic and cultural roles of fire, the archaeological evidence supporting its significance, and its lasting impact on the social and spiritual fabric of early human societies. Fire is a cultural and symbolic force. Fire, with its mesmerizing light, warmth, and transformative power, likely held deep symbolic meaning for early humans. Unlike other animals, which reacted to fire with instinctual fear, Homo sapiens and their predecessors harnessed it, integrating it into their cultural and social lives. The ability to control fire, creating light in darkness, warmth in cold, and transformation in raw materials, may have symbolized mastery over nature, life, or even spiritual forces. This symbolic significance, evident in later human societies where fire is central to rituals and ceremonies, likely originated in the early practices of Homo sapiens. The hearth, as a physical manifestation of fire, became a sacred space where communities gathered to share stories, perform rituals, and reinforce group identity. These activities, facilitated by fire's light and warmth, fostered the development of cultural traditions, including art, storytelling, and spiritual practices. The symbolic power of fire helped Homo sapiens create shared meanings, strengthening social bonds and distinguishing them from other hominins. Archaeological evidence of fire's cultural role. Archaeological sites across Africa provide indirect evidence of fire's cultural significance, often through its association with symbolic artifacts and communal activities. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa approximately 1 million years ago, ash layers and charred bones suggest that Homo erectus maintained fires within a sheltered environment, while primarily used for cooking and warmth. The consistent presence of hearths indicates that these spaces were central to group activities, possibly including early forms of ritual or storytelling. The deliberate maintenance of fires suggests a cultural practice that went beyond mere survival. In East Africa, Gesher Benot Yakov, approximately 790,000 years ago, contains hearths with burned bones, flint, and plant remains, arranged in clusters that suggest communal gatherings. The careful organization of these hearths, often located in central areas of the site, implies that fire played a role in social and possibly symbolic activities, such as sharing food or marking significant events. While direct evidence of cultural symbolism is scarce at this early stage, the hearth's role as a gathering place laid the groundwork for later cultural practices. By the Middle Stone Age MSA, Homo sapiens had integrated fire into more complex cultural behaviors. At Blombo's Cave in South Africa, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, hearths are associated with symbolic artifacts, such as engraved ochre and perforated shell beads. The ochre, processed in abalone shells near hearths, may have been used for body painting or ritualistic purposes, suggesting that fire was central to cultural activities. The shell beads, likely used as adornments, indicate that hearths were spaces where Homo sapiens expressed group identity or status, reinforcing social bonds through symbolic acts. Clesi's river mouth approximately 120,000 years ago also provides evidence of fire's cultural role. Hearths, surrounded by shellfish, animal bones, and tools, suggest communal meals, which likely served as opportunities for storytelling or ritual. The presence of ochre, possibly used for symbolic purposes, further supports the idea that fire was a focal point for cultural expression. Similarly, Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago, contains hearths associated with heat-treated silkreed and food remains, indicating that fire was used in both practical and social contexts, possibly including ritualistic activities. Fire in ritual and symbolism. The symbolic significance of fire likely stemmed from its transformative properties. Fire's ability to turn raw food into nourishing meals, altar stone for tool-making, and provide light in darkness may have been seen as a metaphor for life, creation, or spiritual power. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, such as the San of southern Africa or the Aboriginal Australians, offer parallels. Fire is often central to rituals, symbolizing purification, renewal, or connection to ancestors. These practices likely have roots in the behaviors of early Homo sapiens. At Blombo's cave, the association of hearths with engraved ochre and shell beads suggests that fire played a role in ritualistic activities. Ochre, with its vibrant red color, may have symbolized blood, life, or spiritual potency, and its processing near hearths indicates that fire was integral to these symbolic acts. The careful arrangement of hearths, often in prominent locations within caves or rock shelters, suggests that they were more than functional spaces. They were cultural and possibly sacred sites, where communities gathered to reinforce shared beliefs. Fire's light and warmth may have also inspired early forms of storytelling and myth-making. As groups gathered around hearths, as seen at Clay's river mouth, they likely shared narratives about hunts, environmental changes, or spiritual beliefs. These stories, passed down through generations, helped create a shared cultural identity, a key factor in Homo sapiens' social cohesion. As discussed in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series, Social and Cultural Impacts. The hearth's role as a cultural hub had profound social implications. By providing a space for communal activities, fire fostered cooperation and communication. The preparation and sharing of food around hearths, as evidenced at Clay's river mouth and Pinnacle Point, reinforced social bonds through reciprocity and trust. These communal meals likely served as occasions for storytelling, planning, or ritual, strengthening group unity. The creation of symbolic artifacts, such as the ochre and beads at Blombo's cave, suggests that hearths were spaces where Homo sapiens expressed cultural identity. These artifacts, used for adornment or ritual, indicate the emergence of social roles and hierarchies, as individuals may have used symbols to signify status or group affiliation. The collaborative nature of these activities, such as ochre processing or bead-making, required group coordination, further enhancing social complexity. Fire's cultural significance also likely influenced the development of language. As groups gathered around hearths to share stories or plan activities, they may have developed more complex forms of communication, as discussed in Chapter 4 of the Homo sapiens series. The hearth's role as a safe, illuminated space extended the hours available for social interaction, fostering the cognitive and linguistic advancements that set Homo sapiens apart. Comparisons with other hominins. While Homo sapiens used fire as a cultural symbol, earlier hominins like Homo erectus also maintained hearths, as seen at Wonderwork Cave and Gesher, but not Yakov. However, the archaeological record of Homo erectus shows little evidence of symbolic activities associated with fire, suggesting that their use of hearths was primarily practical. Neanderthals, as evidenced at Kebera Cave, approximately 60,000 years ago, used hearths for cooking and warmth, but their sites contain fewer symbolic artifacts compared to Homo sapiens sites like Blombo's cave. The association of hearths with symbolic artifacts, such as engraved ochre and beads, sets Homo sapiens apart. Their ability to integrate fire into cultural and ritualistic practices reflects a higher level of cognitive and social complexity, giving them a competitive edge over other hominins, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series. This cultural sophistication likely contributed to their dominance during their dispersal out of Africa. The broader significance of fire's cultural role. Fire's role as a cultural symbol had far-reaching implications for human evolution. By providing a space for ritual, storytelling, and symbolic expression, The hearth fostered the development of cultural traditions that defined Homo sapiens. These traditions, rooted in shared meanings and practices, strengthened social cohesion and enabled the transmission of knowledge across generations. A key factor in Homo sapiens' cultural accumulation, the cultural practices developed around hearths laid the foundation for later human societies, where fire remained central to rituals, ceremonies, and community life. The symbolic use of fire, as seen in the ochre and beads at Blombo's cave, foreshadowed the artistic and spiritual traditions that would characterize human cultures, from cave paintings to religious ceremonies. Conclusion: fire's role as a cultural symbol transformed the social and spiritual lives of early Homo sapiens, making the hearth a central hub for ritual, storytelling, and community bonding. Archaeological evidence from sites like Blombo's cave, Claysy's river mouth, and Pinnacle Point reveals the integration of fire into symbolic practices, reflecting the cognitive and cultural sophistication of Homo sapiens. By fostering social cohesion and cultural expression, fire laid the foundation for the complex societies and rich traditions that define human history. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how fire's cultural role intertwined with other aspects of the fire revolution, shaping the evolutionary journey of Homo sapiens. The fire revolution, beginning around 1 million years ago, was a pivotal development in human evolution, with fire use becoming a defining feature of early hominins and later Homo sapiens. While Homo sapiens refined and expanded the applications of fire, earlier hominins like Homo erectus and Neanderthals Homo neanderthalensis also used fire, demonstrating varying degrees of sophistication. By comparing Homo sapiens' use of fire with that of other hominins, we gain insights into the technological, social, and cognitive advantages that contributed to their evolutionary success. This chapter explores the archaeological evidence of fire use among Homo erectus, Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens, highlighting the differences in their approaches and the implications for Homo sapiens' dominance. Fire use among early hominins. The controlled use of fire likely began with Homo erectus, a species that appeared around 2 million years ago and persisted until approximately 100,000 years ago. Archaeological evidence suggests that Homo erectus was among the first to harness fire, marking the onset of the fire revolution. The ability to maintain fires for cooking, warmth, and protection, as discussed in previous chapters, reflects a significant cognitive and technical leap, but Homo erectus' use of fire was relatively limited compared to Homo sapiens. Neanderthals, who inhabited Europe and Western Asia from approximately 400,000 to 40,000 years ago, also used fire extensively, demonstrating a more advanced approach than Homo erectus. Their fire use overlapped with the arrival of Homo sapiens in Europe, 45,000 to 40,000 years ago, providing a basis for comparison. By examining the fire-related practices of these hominins, we can understand how Homo sapiens' innovations gave them a competitive edge, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series. Archaeological evidence of fire use. Homo erectus. The earliest evidence of controlled fire use comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, approximately 1 million years ago, associated with Homo erectus. Ash layers, charred bones, and burned plant remains indicate that fires were maintained within the cave, likely for cooking and warmth. The hearths of Homo erectus are often simple, with minimal evidence of complex applications like toolmaking or environmental management. The focus appears to have been on immediate survival needs, such as cooking and protection, as seen in the charred remains at Wonderwork Cave. The lack of symbolic artifacts or advanced tool technologies associated with their hearths suggests that Homo erectus' fire use was primarily utilitarian. Neanderthals used fire more consistently and systematically than Homo erectus, as evidenced by numerous sites across Europe and the Levant. At Kebera Cave in Israel, approximately 60,000 years ago, centralized hearths contained burned bones and tools, indicating regular fire use for cooking and warmth. The site's hearths are well defined, with ash layers and charred materials suggesting sustained fire maintenance. Similarly, Gorham's Cave in Gibraltar, approximately 39,000 years ago, shows evidence of hearths used for cooking and possibly tool processing, with burned bones and plant remains. Neanderthals also used fire for basic technological purposes, such as producing birch tar, an adhesive for hafting tools, as seen at sites like Kingasar in Germany, approximately 80,000 years ago. However, their fire use appears less sophisticated than that of Homo sapiens. With limited evidence of advanced techniques like heat treatment or widespread symbolic activities, Neanderthal hearths are often associated with practical tasks, and their symbolic artifacts, such as simple engravings, are less prevalent than those of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. By the Middle Stone Age MSA, Homo sapiens had integrated fire into a wide range of activities, as discussed in previous chapters. At Pinnacle Point in South Africa approximately 164,000 years ago, Homo sapiens used fire to heat treat silkreed, creating sharper, more durable tools, a technique that required precise temperature control. Blombo's cave, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, provides evidence of fire-based adhesive production, with ochre and plant resin heated in abalone shells to create compounds for hafting. These innovations reflect a sophisticated understanding of fire's transformative properties. Homo sapiens also used fire for cultural and symbolic purposes, as seen at Blombo's cave, where hearths are associated with engraved ochre and shell beads, suggesting ritualistic or symbolic activities. Comparative analysis of fire use technological applications. Homo erectus used fire primarily for cooking and warmth, with limited evidence of technological applications. Their hearths, as seen at Wonderwork Cave, lack the complexity of Homo sapiens' fire-based technologies, such as heat treatment or adhesive production. Neanderthals advanced beyond Homo erectus by using fire for adhesive production, but their techniques, like birch tar production, were less refined than Homo sapiens' ochre-based adhesives. Homo sapiens' use of fire for heat treatment, as at Pinnacle Point, and adhesive production, as at Blombo's cave, demonstrates a higher level of technological sophistication. These innovations enabled the creation of composite tools, such as hafted spears, which improved hunting efficiency and supported their dispersal out of Africa. As discussed in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series, social and cultural uses. The social and cultural uses of fire also varied among hominins. Homo erectus hearths, while functional, show little evidence of symbolic or cultural activities, suggesting that their fire use was primarily practical. Neanderthals used hearths as social hubs, as seen at Kebera Cave, but their limited symbolic artifacts indicate less cultural complexity compared to Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens integrated fire into social and cultural practices, as evidenced by the engraved ochre and shell beads at Blombo's cave. The hearth's role as a center for storytelling, ritual, and social bonding, as discussed in Chapter 7, reflects Homo sapiens' advanced cognitive and social capabilities. This cultural sophistication likely strengthened group cohesion, giving them an advantage over other hominins. Consistency and scale. Homo erectus fire use was sporadic, with evidence appearing at select sites like Wonderwork Cave and Gesher, Benotyakov. This suggests that firemaking may not have been a universal skill among Homo erectus populations. Neanderthals used fire more consistently, with hearths found at numerous sites, indicating a more widespread practice. However, their fire use was often localized to specific tasks, such as cooking or warmth. Homo sapiens used fire on a larger scale and with greater versatility, as seen in the widespread distribution of hearths across MSA sites like Clayses, Rivermouth, and Pinnacle Point. Their ability to integrate fire into diverse activities, cooking, toolmaking, protection, and cultural expression reflects a more systematic and adaptive approach, contributing to their evolutionary success. Cognitive and social advantages of Homo sapiens. The differences in fire use highlight Homo sapiens' cognitive and social advantages. The cultural use of fire, particularly in symbolic activities, set Homo sapiens apart. The engraved ochre and beads at Blombo's cave suggest a level of abstract thinking and cultural expression not seen in Homo erectus or Neanderthal sites. This cultural sophistication, combined with technological advancements, likely contributed to Homo sapiens' ability to outcompete or absorb other hominins, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series. Implications for Homo sapiens dominance. The advanced use of fire by Homo sapiens played a critical role in their evolutionary dominance. Technologically, fire-based innovations like heat-treated tools and composite implements enhanced their ability to exploit resources and survive in diverse environments. Socially, the hearth's role as a hub for cooperation and cultural expression strengthened group cohesion, enabling larger, more interconnected communities. The contrast with Homo erectus and Neanderthals highlights why Homo sapiens prevailed. Conclusion: the comparison of fire use among Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, and Neanderthals reveals the unique technological, social, and cultural advantages of early modern humans. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwer Cave, Cabera Cave, and Blombos Cave highlights the progression from sporadic, utilitarian fire use to sophisticated, multifaceted applications. Homo sapiens' ability to integrate fire into toolmaking, social bonding, and cultural expression set them apart, contributing to their dominance over other hominins. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these advantages shaped the broader legacy of the fire revolution, defining the course of human evolution. The fire revolution, ignited around 1 million years ago, stands as one of the most transformative milestones in human evolution, fundamentally shaping the trajectory of Homo sapiens and their predecessors. From its origins with Homo erectus to its refined applications by Homo sapiens around 300,000 years ago, fire revolutionized nutrition, protection, toolmaking, social organization, and cultural expression. Its legacy extends far beyond these immediate impacts, influencing the biological, technological, and cultural developments that define human history. This chapter explores the enduring significance of fire, from its role in enabling global dispersal to its influence on modern societies, and reflects on how this ancient innovation continues to shape humanity's relationship with the world. Fire's biological impact. The mastery of fire had profound biological consequences for Homo sapiens. As discussed in Chapter 3, cooking transformed the human diet, making food more digestible and calorie-rich. Fire also improved health and longevity. By killing pathogens in food, as seen in the cooked shellfish at Clay's river mouth, fire reduced the risk of foodborne illnesses, contributing to higher survival rates. The softer texture of cooked food, as evidenced by less abraded dental remains in Homo sapiens, reduced wear on teeth, potentially extending lifespans. These biological advantages supported population growth, allowing Homo sapiens to form larger, more resilient communities, as discussed in Chapter 9 of the Homo sapiens series. Fire and global dispersal. Fire was a critical enabler of Homo sapiens' dispersal out of Africa 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, as explored in Chapter 6 of the Homo sapiens series. By providing warmth, fire allowed early humans to inhabit colder regions, such as the Eurasian steppes, where temperatures would have otherwise been prohibitive. Archaeological evidence from European sites like Bacho Kiro Cave, approximately 45,000 years ago, shows hearths used for warmth, indicating that fire was essential for survival in new climates. Fire's protective role, as discussed in Chapter 4, also facilitated dispersal by creating safe campsites in predator-rich environments. The ability to carry fire, possibly using smoldering embers, as suggested by ethnographic parallels, allowed Homo sapiens to establish temporary shelters during migration. This adaptability enabled them to colonize diverse regions, from tropical Asia to Arctic Europe, laying the foundation for the global spread of human populations. Technological foundations. The use of fire in toolmaking, as detailed in Chapter 6, laid the groundwork for technological advancements that shaped human history. Heat treatment of stone, as seen at Pinnacle Point, produced sharper, more durable tools, improving hunting and resource processing. The technological legacy of fire extends to later periods. The heat treatment of stone paved the way for metallurgy, which emerged around 4000 BCE with the smelting of copper and bronze. The use of fire to manipulate environments, as discussed in Chapter 5, foreshadowed agricultural practices like slash-and-burn farming, which transformed human societies during the Neolithic period approximately 10,000 years ago. Fire's role in early technology established a foundation for the tools, machines, and industries that define the modern world. Social and cultural legacy. The hearth's role as a social hub, explored in Chapter 7, had lasting impacts on human social structures. By fostering cooperation, communication, and storytelling, hearths strengthened group cohesion, enabling Homo sapiens to form larger, more interconnected communities. The collaborative activities around hearths, such as food sharing and toolmaking, introduced social roles and divisions of labor, as seen in the diverse artifacts at Clazy's river mouth and Blombo's cave. These early social structures laid the groundwork for the complex societies of later human history, from ancient cities to modern nations. Fire's cultural significance, as discussed in Chapter 8, also left a lasting legacy. The symbolic use of fire, evident in the ochre and beads associated with hearths at Blombo's cave, fostered the development of cultural traditions, including art, ritual, and storytelling. Comparisons with other, as explored in Chapter 9, Homo sapiens' use of fire was more versatile and sophisticated than that of other hominins. Homo erectus used fire for basic purposes like cooking and warmth, as seen at Wonderwork Cave, 1 million years ago, but their applications were limited. Neanderthals, with evidence from Kabara Cave, approximately 60,000 years ago, used fire more consistently, but their lack of widespread symbolic artifacts suggests less cultural complexity. Homo sapiens' integration of fire into toolmaking, environmental management, and cultural expression gave them a competitive edge, contributing to their dominance over other hominins, as discussed in Chapter 7 of the Homo sapiens series. This comparative advantage was rooted in Homo sapiens' cognitive and social capabilities. Their ability to innovate with fire, as seen in heat-treated tools and adhesive production, and to use it for cultural purposes, as evidenced by symbolic artifacts, enabled them to adapt to diverse environments and outcompete or absorb other species. Fire's multifaceted role was a key factor in their evolutionary success. Fire's role in shaping modern humanity. The legacy of the fire revolution extends to the modern era, influencing every aspect of human life. Biologically, the nutritional benefits of cooking supported the development of larger brains, enabling the cognitive advancements that led to language, art, and technology. Socially, the hearth's role as a communal space fostered the cooperation and cultural traditions that define human societies. Technologically, fire-based innovations laid the foundation for metallurgy, agriculture, and industrialization, which transformed the world during the Industrial Revolution, approximately 1760 to 1840 CE. Fire's cultural significance persists in modern rituals and technologies. From the Olympic flame to religious ceremonies, fire remains a powerful symbol of human achievement and connection. In technology, fire's legacy is evident in energy production. From ancient forges to modern power plants, the ability to harness and control fire, first achieved 1 million years ago, continues to shape humanity's relationship with the environment, for better and worse, as seen in the challenges of climate change driven by fire-based technologies like fossil fuel combustion. Challenges and future implications. While fire propelled human progress, it also introduced challenges that persist today. The use of fire to shape landscapes, as discussed in Chapter 5, led to ecological changes, such as deforestation and species loss, that foreshadowed modern environmental issues. The reliance on fire for energy, from ancient hearths to industrial furnaces, has contributed to climate change, posing existential challenges for humanity. Understanding the legacy of fire offers insights into our capacity for innovation and the responsibility to manage its consequences. Looking forward, the fire revolution's legacy underscores humanity's ability to adapt and innovate. The cognitive and social skills developed through fire use problem-solving, cooperation, and cultural expression equip us to address modern challenges, from sustainable energy to global collaboration. The story of fire reminds us of our potential to shape the future, just as our ancestors shaped their world. Conclusion: the fire revolution, beginning 1 million years ago and refined by Homo sapiens, left an enduring legacy that continues to shape human history. From supporting biological development to enabling global dispersal, technological innovation, and cultural expression, fire was a catalyst for Homo sapiens' success. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave, Pinnacle Point, and Blombo's Cave illuminates fire's multifaceted role, while its comparisons with other hominins highlight Homo sapiens' unique advantages. As we reflect on fire's legacy, we see a story of innovation, resilience, and cultural richness that continues to define humanity, guiding us toward a future shaped by the same ingenuity that first tamed the flame.